1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1 through 7. Now, concerning the matters about which you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with women, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. But then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now as a concession, not a command, I say this. I wish that all were as I myself am. But each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. Continuing with the exhortation to abstain from sexual immorality, Paul gives a godly advice on how to wisely make circumstances that will help the believer stay away from sin. Temptation to sexual desires is something everyone has, and we need to place boundaries in order to contain the desires to what God has allowed as good. Paul exhorts the believers to not withhold themselves to the desires of their spouse, in order that both may bear the responsibility of the other, remaining pure and holy before the Lord. Although there may be some that have godly gift of self-control, many are prone to falling into temptation if they allow their desires to run rampant without any restraint. Having a clear biblical boundary set in our lives is a wise way to abstain from the desires of the flesh. Paul's exhortation is only one example of the many temptations we face daily. And when we allow the Holy Spirit to lead us and teach us wise ways to clean our surroundings free of things that will tempt us, we're able to find the strength to resist the sin. James chapter 4 verse 7 says, "Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Just as Paul gives godly advice on how married couples can abstain from sexual immorality, Holy Spirit will counsel us and give us wisdom on how we can flee from the temptations that surround us. As we reflect on today's passage, let us ask the Holy Spirit for wisdom so that we can set boundaries in our lives which will help us remain pure and holy before the Lord.